Let me know when you're ready.
I shall.
Oh,
Madam Mayor, it is 6:09 and we are live.
thank you very much. And good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, April 4th regular City Commission meeting. Madam Clerk, can we have the roll call?
Yes, Mayor Betty Resch,
Here.
Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy,
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes,
Here.
Commissioner Reynaldo Diaz.
Here.
Thank you very much. The pledge will be led, the invocation, the moment of silence is going to be led by Reynaldo Diaz tonight. They're all up in Tallahassee. That's why they're zooming in. They're up in the lobby for the city.
I guess I can do it through camera. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Commissioner.
All right.
With liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so let's look at the agenda. And now we have a moment of silence. Now I'll do it. To those who govern our hearts and minds, please make us strong and fair and do the best we can for ourselves, our neighbors, and our wonderful city. Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any agendas for ordering?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. There are no changes to the agenda.
Thank you. Then do I need a motion to accept the agenda? No,
You do not.
thank you. It's been a long day. We have presentations. Now, as I noted earlier, there is no public comment on presentation items. I know we've probably all been contacted by a lot of people about this issue, but tonight at the meeting, there are no public comments. With that, I am going to ask, I always want to pronounce your name wrong. Mr.
TK.
TK, Mr. TK, for his presentation.
Thank you.
And everyone just pay attention.
Thank you,
Please
Tanya
silence-
Kushakian. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Please silence your phones. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, commissioners, and those of you who are gathered in the audience and online. Appreciate your attention. I want to introduce to you a concept, an idea called micro-communal housing units, which is a truly affordable housing option for people making less than $35,000 a year annually. I'm here on behalf of Jetta Investment Company, which is a local Delray Beach-based real estate investment firm. Dr. Kurt Jetta is here in the audience as well as Eli, our property manager, who handles Jetta's properties, both in Delray Beach and in Lake Worth Beach. So MCHUs, what is it? It's essentially an SRO with a 21st century twist, which is a single room occupancy. Now, we know the statistics. We know Palm Beach County has a population of 1.5 million people, that 26% of our population lives at this level, $35,000 a year annual income or less. And these folks are, quite frankly, often overlooked, neglected, left out of the discussion. And we're talking about something that is not quite sexy. We're not talking about oceanfront property and water views. We're talking about helping folks at the lower end of the economic status and giving them an option to stabilize their lives. Essentially, it is $500 to $600 monthly rent. Who does this serve? Seniors on fixed income, students, people in the workforce, people who are homeless or would otherwise be homeless, and quite frankly, people without cars. Proximity to being to a grocery, public transportation is also helpful. We're not talking about Airbnbs. We're not talking about things of the past. We're talking about things of the future. This is some more specifics. We're talking about a room that's 100 to 120 square feet that's shared, full restroom, dual kitchen. Units can range from 16 to 32, depending on the density. But all of this, again, is an idea. We don't have an ordinance or something before you to present to you as this is an ordinance for you to vote on. This is something that needs to be vetted. This is something that we have some ideas on how we do this. So we wanted to give you some specifics: reduced parking requirement, less than the one-to-one communal living space, elevator. And here's the kicker. If you can do this with some of these numbers, you can do it without a tax incentive. So no burden on taxpayers. It's a self-sustaining economic model that works. So, and here's the difference between an SRO and an MCHU. We're talking about a 21st century twist. We're talking about significant quality of life upgrades. Cable TV, internet, Wi-Fi, which most people don't have, entry, fob access for the room, the building, and the bathroom. All of these things can be done, enhanced building facade and new landscaping and green space. So these are just some of the ideas we have. And before I go forward, I want to say we've spoken to a lot of people about this. We've spoken to a lot of elected officials, community leaders, and the number one concern we get is destabilizing. We don't want something that's going to come into our neighborhood and destabilize a community. And we don't want that either. In fact, we're here to offer an option to help stabilize some people's lives and bring some stability to some communities that otherwise wouldn't have it. So we propose, and these are just some ideas on a regulatory structure, a security plan on how we can address these concerns that people may have in the community that elected officials have given us. We've taken that feedback and we're open to even more ideas. So some of the ideas that have come up that we propose and we like are annual licensing and inspections, pre-approved property management companies with standardized vetting. This is super important because the oversight can't be one way. It's got to be both ways. So you have to do oversight on who are the people coming in and how is it being executed and enforced. So if you have significant oversight and vetting of the applicants before they come into the room, and with the proper oversight and regulatory regime, this model can work. And it has worked. And we have other things like per room density, so keeping it to one person, temporary rental restrictions, so no Airbnbs. And when I talk about technology, these are significant financial investments on behalf of Jetta. It would be motion detectors, LED lighting. You know, there's a lot of things we talk about like cameras, and cameras do deter crime, but lighting actually deters more crime and more nuisance in alleys and things like that. So we think that's really important, but we're open to doing all of these types of technology upgrades. And quite frankly, we have a proof of concept that works. It's been in operation in Delray Beach since 1960, so that's over 60 years. And since the property has come under Jetta's ownership and he's put in place some of those security requirements that I mentioned before, there has been no crime. In fact, there's more crime in the single family homes than there are in the MCH units in Delray Beach. The limited parking requirements, again, it's even below, it's about 0.25 per space. But currently those people who live in this particular building, 2 of the 7 parking spaces are used. The people who live there make $20,000 a year or less. They're workforce, they're seniors, and there's people who would otherwise be homeless. And we found that MCHUs work if they're close to a grocery and public transportation. If there's no washer and dryer on site, Mr. Jetta would like to make sure that that is on site. But if not, close proximity to a laundromat. And of course, it's got to be in a city because it can't be on septic tanks. So we've received some support from folks, some big organizations here in Palm Beach County, like the Homeless Coalition, Community Partners, Delray Housing Group, and some veterans groups. And I know there's some people here in the room tonight that you know, some friendly faces that are in support of this project or this concept as well. And I want to stress again that we're only here to present an idea. We don't have an ordinance. We don't have something where you can vote yes or no. We're here to hopefully gain your attention, to direct staff to collaborate with us and work with us and come up with something that works, something that makes sense. So, want to say that, again, we're here not to get your vote or opinion on whether or not you support or oppose this, because there's nothing to support or oppose yet, because we haven't vetted this yet with city staff. And so we want to go through this process in a public forum, inform people that we have a good landlord here who wants to provide $500 to $600 room rents for folks who can't afford to live, who would otherwise be out on the streets. And, you know, he's one of the good guys. He's not one of those landlords that you can't find, you write letters to and you never see. He's here. He's willing to take your feedback and your criticisms, incorporate that, and produce a solution that we think can help solve some of the affordable housing crisis we have here in Palm Beach County. So again, our goal is to be a partner, be a collaborator. Let's put something together, we hope, with staff and do something really good, something really affordable if we're serious about affordable housing.
Thank you.
Did I hit my 10 minutes, Melissa?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
okay, thank you very much. Normally presentation is just that presentation. Does anyone want to make, you up there in Tallahassee, do you want to make any comments?
I do, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to know, what was that address again for proof of concept in Delray? It's not in the backup that's online, I'm asking.
Sure, it's 501 105 Fifth Avenue. Northwest Fifth Avenue, 105 Northwest Fifth Avenue.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? Hearing none, I say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for presentation, and I'm sure you'll be in touch. Okay, now next we have proclamations. The first proclamation is declaring April 2023 as Florida Water Professionals Month. And I was going to have Ronaldo read this, being a water professional, but Mr. McBoy, would you like to read it? Being a water professional, I try to be appropriate.
Proclamation. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida water management districts and the city of Lake Worth Beach are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a dry month, I think we can all attest to that, when water demands are most acute, as Florida's water conservation months, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now, therefore, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in her and on behalf of the City Commission, do proclaim April 23rd, April 2023 as Water Conservation Month in the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and encourage citizens of the City of Lake Worth Beach to help protect our precious resources by practicing water-saving measures and becoming more aware of the need to save water. In witness whereof I was here and set my hand, caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach to fix this 4th day of April 2022.
Thank you very much. Now I'm going to read this one because it's in honor of Florida water professionals. Whereas water industry professionals dedicate themselves to the production and distribution of safe drinking water, as well as the proper collection, treatment, reuse, and disposal of wastewater and stormwater. And whereas, regardless of where it originates, our water is treated, tested, distributed, collected, and retreated in processes carefully managed by water professionals to meet stringent water quality standards. And whereas water professionals work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, maintaining and upgrading their system, planning for the future, and improving the safety and resiliency of local water supplies. And whereas the success that we have experienced thus far and will have in the future is made possible by tremendous commitment and efforts of Florida's water professionals. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Florida Water Professionals Month. And I have signed it and it's been sealed. And I just want to say our water staff for the city is excellent. We have very good water. We win awards all the time. It's a wonderful department and we are very proud of the work they do and we thank them. And I'm
Yes, Mayor Rush, Gary Baker is here from the water treatment plant.
embarrassed. So let me, you're our water professional. Would you want to take a picture? Man. That's our water man. Go water. Thank you. And last but not least, and this is a bit of a long one, but it's important. This is dark skies, the proclamation about dark skies. Whereas the beauty and wonder of a natural night sky is a shared heritage of all humankind. And whereas the experience of seeing a starry night sky inspires feelings of wonder and encourages interest in the arts, sciences, technology, engineering, and math, STEAM, including among young people living in the city of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas the opportunity to view star-filled skies over Everglades National Park, Big Cypress National Preserve, Kissimmee Prairie Preserve State Park, 10,000 Islands National Wildlife Refuge, Florida Keys, and other areas of the greater Everglades in Florida with limited light pollution attracts tourists to this region and therefore economic benefit to the city of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas artificial lighting is defined as light produced by humans for any purpose and excessive artificial lightning at night, including light directed towards the sky and light causing glare or trespass, and contributes to light pollution of the nighttime environment. And whereas many people in the city of Lake Worth Beach live under a dome of light pollution and are not able to fully enjoy the cultural, ecological, and health benefits of a naturally lit nocturnal environment and night sky in their own communities. And whereas light pollution has scientifically established economic and environmental consequences, which result in significant impacts to the ecology and human health of all communities, including those in the city of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas light pollution impacts many wildlife species in our region, including sea turtles nesting along our coastline, birds migrating to the Atlantic Flyway, fireflies twinkling deep in the Everglades, and bats foraging in South Florida, like the Florida bottom-tip bat. Whereas protecting the night sky and quality of the nocturnal environment provides many benefits to Lake Worth Beach communities, including neighborhood livability, safety, quality of life, and access to nature. And whereas solving the problem of light pollution requires educating governments, communities, businesses, and citizens, and encouraging neighbor and ecology-friendly lighting best practices that are effective in preventing and reducing light pollution in all forms. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim April 15th to the 22nd, 2023 as National Dark Sky Week in Lake Worth Beach, and encourage residents, businesses, visitors, employees, and neighbors to celebrate the night sky and the natural nocturnal environment within the greater Everglades, and to learn about responsible lighting practices that prevent or reduce light pollution and that protect or restore the natural qualities of the night for the good of people, wildlife, ecosystems, and climate. In witness whereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach to be affixed this 4th day of April, 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brilliant. Where you find it? All right, moving right along. Oh, here we go, designation of appointments. Okay, this is one thing that we do every year, and it's time to do that now. So, folks in Tallahassee, are you with us?
Yeah, we could hear you loud and
Okay,
clear.
great, because you have to, we have to all participate in this conversation. Okay, so there are, well, is there any public comment about this? I have not received any cards. I have about this? Yes.
Oh, no, not for A, for B.
I'm having a rough time tonight. Michael, we're not doing
Yes, we're
those.
going to start with the appointment of vice mayor and vice mayor pro tem, please, Madam Mayor.
Yep, I'm just looking at, oh, yes. It's Mimi. Yeah, and Craig. And that's it. So let's have some, there are two, do you have any cards for this, Madam Clerk?
I do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, well, then why don't we have the two folks that have come in for public comment and see what they have to say and then go from there. We'll start with,
Is it about the vice mayor pro tem?
is it, well, it's about the designation of different
I
appointments.
think it's for B, Madam Mayor.
Oh, all right, okay.
Okay, I thought, I was under the impression that this is a kind of a cleanup item. I don't know if anybody has any desire to shake things up. I'm happy with the current situation. I'm also willing to give up my vice mayor pro tem title. I haven't used it. I haven't been needed. If you're not here, Vice Mayor McVoy's been able to step in. I think he's done a great job conducting meetings, very professional. There's never been a time where both of you were absent and you needed my services. So
We could make arrangements.
it doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to keep things the way they are.
What say you, Sarah and Ronaldo, about vice mayor and vice mayor pro tem?
I think Commissioner Stokes is doing a really great job, and I wouldn't mind her continuing her services.
Commissioner, Vice Mayor McVoy. Sarah, do you have any comment?
I'm fine with everything the way it is, ma'am.
Okay. So let's have a vote. Someone make a motion. Anybody?
Can I make a
Oh,
motion? I'm
I'll
part-
move to I'll move to have Vice Mayor McVoy and Vice Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner Stokes.
Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
I,
Okay. Now, we have some public comment. Craig Frost and Mimi, both of you. Mimi start and then Craig up on deck.
All right. Okay, my name is Mimi May. I live at 167 Yale Drive. And I am current chairperson of the Education Task Force. And we wanted to thank Kim for her services and for being the liaison from the commission to the task force. However, in the spirit of rotation and to have some new blood, we would like to switch our commissioner to Sarah Maliga. Thank you.
Craig Frost?
How you doing? Craig Frost, 1224 South L Street. Also representing NAPC, new elected chair to the NAPC. Thank you. And we would prefer to keep Sarah as our liaison.
Everybody.
If she's willing to stay with us, we would like to keep her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, she's a very busy woman. Okay, we have the Transportation Planning Authority, the Palm Beach County League of Cities, the CRA, Neighborhood Association President's Council, and the Education Task Force.
Could we go through them one at a time?
Well,
Seems like they're unrelated.
well, they're unrelated, but we're gonna have some carryover. Right now, Sarah is CRA. Last year, I was CRA. Neighborhood Association President's Council, Education Task Force. Does anyone have, Sarah, what's your response? Because you've been asked to do by the public to be on two, but you're also on CRA, which I would not mind taking back unless somebody else wants to.
I'm actually have a lot of things working right now with the CRA, and I would ask for the continuation of that position as the liaison. We are really moving the needle on some great things. And again, we talked about being streamlined and, you're right in the middle of getting stuff done and then you get pulled from a board. Thank you to Craig and Mimi for their ask. I have the ability to fulfill those seats. And I would be more than honored to take on the Educational Task Force with obviously the rest of the commission being on board. And as far as the NAPC, I'm happy to continue serving with them. And it doesn't, you know, I don't mind being the person who gets up on the first Saturday of the month and hanging out with everybody at 9 a.m. I'm also not afraid to get into the dunk tank for some of their fundraising that's coming up. So I'm good with that. But I would request that, again, you know, I would love to stay on as the CRA. I have a lot of things working forward with Joan. And I'd like to continue in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, you know that I have a relationship with them as well, which is helpful to have two of us. But you, okay, so.
We just have some things in the works as far as business and landlord tenant stuff that we're working on.
Yeah.
I'm home buyer program stuff, and I would hate to be pulled out of it.
Okay.
Right in the middle of it. That's all. Thank you, ma'am.
Having on 3 committees really is.
Well, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead then. It's free call.
Yeah, so over the last 2 years with the Education Task Force, we started in the middle of COVID. We've had some ups and downs. We've had some struggles getting people in their seats, and the people who have been on the task force haven't always attended the SAC meetings. And some of them, I agree that we do need to make sure that everybody's committed to the task force. We're working on it. We have appointments coming up at the end of this summer because the 2 years have been up. And I do think we need to make sure that everybody's on the task force and working on it is committed. And I am still committed to the task force. I had a conflict when I had to step into Compass for you, when you were out to do the World's AIDS Proclamation. And then as soon as that was done, I came over. The task force meeting got moved 1 month. The board decided to move it to the night where we all had a workshop.
But
And I
you've
wasn't
been
able
going
to
otherwise?
Yes, I've been going otherwise. There's been a time here or there when I haven't been able to go or have gone late. There's been one other conflict that came up unexpectedly, but I've committed to the task force, and I look forward to seeing who returns and what new people fill the spots that are haven't had. Some of the elementary schools have been tough because they're during the day. But I haven't had any conversations directly with the board members about stepping down. I've had conversations with some of the board members about how we can get, things that are the hiccups that are happening to be smoothed out. So I'd like to keep serving for another year. I think we can do a good job and move it forward.
Yeah, I mean, apparently there's some issues. I mean, we're willing to work with them.
Yes, of course.
Well, I gotta ask.
Yeah.
How neighborhood association? Sarah, do you want to still be on the neighborhood association?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
That's that 9 o'clock on Saturday morning.
It's one of Sarah's favorite times, Sarah, right?
Not
It
mine.
is. You all know that I'm such a morning person.
You are such a morning person. All right.
Such a morning person.
All right. Palm Beach County League of Cities.
You're on, right? I assume you would like to continue. Well, I'm partial.
Can everybody please speak into their mics? Thank you so much.
Sorry. I mean, I'll stay on it. I'm the mayor, so I guess it makes the most sense really. Or it's a lunch.
How often do they meet?
It's a lunch once a month. And so I'm on the board now. They just put me on the board.
Guess you better stay on.
Oh, yeah.
So you better stay on it.
I'll stay on it. All right. So all we have left then is transportation. So we have Sarah, if this goes all well. Transportation Planning Authority. Ronaldo, you've been on that, correct?
Yeah, and I love it. So I'm looking forward to doing more work for us on that board.
Typically, I haven't gone to 100% of them. but-
Or would you be interested?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ronaldo, you're not going to be a liaison to anything
Oh, he's not staying on it?
because, Chris said he would take
Oh,
TPA.
okay.
And just.
No, I said I want to do TPA. Chris,
Oh, okay, fine
Yeah.
then. All right, so let's have somebody make a motion.
I
can
move-
we, is it a motion for all of them? Can we do one motion for all?
You can make a motion to keep everything the
As
same, and
Okay,
that would cover everything.
I'll do that. I'll make a motion to keep everything the same.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, great. Okay, we sort of do, yeah. Okay, commission liaison reports and comments. We'll start with Mr. Diaz tonight. Ronaldo?
Sure, I'll probably try to keep it short because I think our Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty here. Let's see, just checking my notes. I think last time I got to talk about a little bit about the TPA report and how the long-range transportation planning plan is going to incorporate things that we're incorporating in like our housing study, for example, which is the equity, housing, social justice as part of a transportation component. So I just want to express that's really exciting to kind of get that going once that gets finalized, the agreement. And also, you know, we've been starting our mobility plan, which is hopefully will also include a lot of that. And I think it's gonna open the door for a new era, especially, you know, we're up here in Tallahassee right now, and we had some really good meetings talking about a lot of issues that are close to us as a city. And there are some things, you know, news out of Tallahassee can be troubling at times, but there are some things that work through. I mean, it's really good to see, for example, like, you know, this afternoon, a cap on how much funding can go to prisons for things like mental health care and education has been lifted. And so there's moves to improve people's lives in little ways. And, you know, housing is on a radar, and that might not be as addressed as we want in Tallahassee, but I think we as a city for now can really move the needle and start thinking creatively. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be up here and discuss that and really kind of combine all the things that I know from, you know, career wise and experience wise to bring it all together and make it, you know, come to fruition. I even saw a bunch of old friends in Tallahassee, as Carmen and Sarah can attest to, walking around. So yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
I'm gonna pass tonight. We had our electric meeting last week and also our public forum, so I think we've communicated a lot. So move the meeting along.
Vice Mayor McGoy.
Okay, a couple things. I'll give a little bit of a summary in a minute of the town hall for people that weren't there. And a couple other things, couple of other activities that I participated in. And I think we're all aware of what happened a week ago Monday in Nashville. I just want to say that I, as an elected official, firmly call on our state and federal legislators to stop doing nothing. I'm not aware of any books that have killed children. Yet we seem to find it okay to ban books, but we do not find it okay to ban assault weapons. I'm tired of that. And I think a lot of Americans are equally tired of it. There were two activities in Lake Worth that were really positive a week apart. A week ago, the previous weekend, not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, was Pride Festival in Lake Worth, and something that has gone on, I don't know whether 22 or 23 years here in Lake Worth, but a long time. And I found it, I've gone for a number of years, I find it a very positive, uplifting occasion. I really enjoy being there. I am not any of the initials myself, but definitely count myself as an ally. And I just find it very interesting to feel it as a safe space that we create in this city for a lot of people. In light of the attacks that have happened in our state on people in the LGBT community, both verbal attacks and physical attacks, I chose, after consultation with Compass, I chose to go in drag. That was quite an experience for me.
I didn't even recognize him.
A lot of people didn't recognize me, but your vice mayor chose to go on drag as a statement of support. I will tell you that one of the most interesting things of that was when we talked to Brim's daughter, who has a convertible recently, about giving transportation for a drag queen. She said, I'm in. But she says, and I'm not worried about me, but I'm worried about your safety, both at the event and potentially afterwards. That's a young person of 19 who is feeling the climate in this country and is concerned about her stepfather being in a public situation. And that should worry us. I also went this past Sunday, I believe, there was a related but different event. There was a march from Compass to the Cultural Plaza, March for Queer and Trans Youth. I stayed for the whole event and listened to young people talking about their experiences growing up in Missouri, growing up in Arkansas, where there was no support, nobody else to talk to, and how lonely that was, and being able to eventually wind up in Lake Worth and feel the support of other people who were willing to let people be whatever they biologically or feel. And just a reminder that human beings come in a lot of different flavors, more than perhaps some of our politicians would like to acknowledge. And for people at that event, there were probably 100 kids there, young people, to feel empowered and feel supported by their community and be able to attend that was a very moving thing. Our town hall district, it was well attended. There were a lot of people at and thank you to Pastor Pierre Georges at the Haitian Peniel Baptist Church that used to be Scottish Rites. Number of comments came in either by email or in person that we needed better clarification to the community. How does this work? Is it a town hall? Is it specific to a particular district that it's in? That was unclear to people. The answer is, and we'll have to push that out, is that the town hall is for the whole city. We simply have chosen to move them around to different districts, make it a little easier for people in that particular district, and that's why we move them around. Very quick summary of comments, and I will ask later on for my colleagues to make a provision. I received a number of comments by email by people who could not be there. I will assemble those and ask the city manager to share them back out to the community so people's voices are heard. Things I heard, I took fairly detailed notes. More solar. Thank you to staff for a number of major events recently. 12th Avenue North is unpaved. There's some erosion issues. Thank you to elected officials for our service. Tree protection. A lot of people care about trees, feel like we're not doing quite as well as we need. The pool, there was a lot of discussion about the pool. Do the pool, maybe consider moving it, figure out what we're doing, make it move. There were some comments on the L&M and K Street area that perhaps the direction the CRA was going was not quite as in line with the community desires as much as we'd like. If anybody knows anybody who goes after iguanas, we have a resident that's having a lot of trouble with iguanas. There was a fair amount of comment on, and I can never remember, micro communal housing units. The presentation we heard generally not too supportive of that. Questions about, are we doing as much as we could for affordable housing? And concern about homeowners insurance, which is not something that the city can do anything about, but that's something you got to raise with Tallahassee for the most part. And some difficulties in the G Street area, which I hope were heard by Captain Barrett. And I think the person raising those is in contact with. That's all I got.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Malega.
Hello, ma'am. So yes, Pride Fest was amazing. Compass and all of the volunteers did an amazing job. Staff did an amazing job. Last Wednesday, I attended Royal Point Santa Neighborhoods Association meeting, which was the first one in about, I want to say 6 months. A lot of the neighborhoods, unfortunately, are going through a lack of interest for attendance at the business meetings and engagement, and with the exception of a few that really pack the house. I think it has a lot to do with the venue where they host it. So Royal Point Sienna has decided they're going to keep everything the same on paper and the same board, but they're on a hiatus until they get more volunteers and some youth, perhaps some more young people from the Bohemian and some of the new projects that are coming along, like the Lake Worth Village Flats. So that led me to the free Easter egg hunt that was happening last Saturday. Our Sabre Lutheran Church had given us some postcards to pass out. I took those postcards at 7:30 down to Howard Park and to our city gymnasium, which was all abuzz with activity. The basketball teams were practicing, the parents were in the gymnasium. I passed out the flyers there, and then I went to Howard Park. And I just want to say that Howard Park has always had the potential and the community's desire to be humming like Pompey. I think it's called Pompey Park in Delray. The basketball court outside at Howard Park was just bustling. There were groups of different demographics. You know, the futsal court was filled. Families were sitting on the sidelines. The playground had tons of kids. And there were no open alcohol containers. There was no loud music being played. And I wanted to take a picture or video, but I didn't want to freak everybody out. So I just went around and talked to people and passed out the Easter postcard. But I just really want to stop for a minute and give praise to staff, the rec department, the leisures department, PBSO, and the PALS program. That area of Howard Park is now the thriving heartbeat of Osborne community. And to be there at 7:30 at night, my eyes filled with tears. And I came home on such a high note that it just reminds me of why we do what we do, right? Is because we want people to feel comfortable and safe to come out of their homes and really enjoy our community. And so last Wednesday night was, I think, probably one of the highlights of the last 2 years. And I want to give kudos to where it's due. And that's not me. It's definitely our staff and PBSO and the community for trusting that it's a safe space to be in. That's all I got.
Thank you. And we really do pride ourselves on being a safe space for people that want to live here and be themselves. Don't hurt anybody, don't put your life on me, but have a good time. That's so much part of what this city is about. And I encourage us all to, take a look. That's great. When you said 7:30, I thought you meant 7:30 in the morning, and I was going to be really impressed.
That is a hard no.
Better woman than I. I just have a couple things. On Saturday night, Kim and I were guests at the mayor's ball, so we got to go, and it didn't cost the city any money. It was good to interact. Sometimes just meeting at a place and saying hi and seeing people again is a valuable thing. My sister was also able to come as the guest of one of our firefighter groups, and it was a good time was had by all. Let's see. I was not able to attend the District 2 meeting. I apologize. I really wanted to be there. My husband, when I went to Tallahassee a couple of weeks ago, I brought him back a souvenir of a very severe case of COVID. So he ended up in the hospital for 8 days. And we thought he was going to come home Friday, which I thought, okay, I'll go to the meeting on Thursday night, get him on Friday. They called me at 5:30 on Thursday. Come and get your husband. I was like, but I have things to do. Come and get your husband. So I had to go get him. So I apologize. And I did find out why I asked, and they're going to be recorded from now on because it's important to see these things. I was disappointed that it wasn't recorded, but thank you for the update. I have heard some background. A couple of things. Spillway Park is one of our least used parks in the city, and it's really beautiful. And I just, at some point, I would like to have a group who what should we do with Spillway Park? I would like to see it become a place where families can gather. It's College Park had a barbecue there recently. Excuse me. The chili cook-off was held at Spillway Park a little while ago, and it really is a delightful place to be. And I would like to see us use it more. And so, if you have an idea about what you'd like to see, I have a couple ideas. But if you have some ideas, everybody knows how to get in touch with us. Give me an email because I really would like to see it. It's a beautiful nature part, and there's no threat now of that canoe
Boat lift.
boat lift going in there so that we can relax about that, which is a big relief.
I have talked to Lauren Bennett and we're gonna have a movie night there. Like
Great,
we've had one at Sunset Ridge. I said, well, let's get one over there.
great.
And we're gonna do it, we said in May.
Mhm.
And maybe try to do some of the end of the school year themes. So
Oh,
at
yeah.
the SAC meeting with North grade, was yesterday, Monday? Yesterday, they were really excited because they're not able to plan their own end of the school year celebration like normal because the entire month of May is testing. So they haven't been able to do their normal field day. So I said, well, the city's gonna have a movie night and we're gonna try to get the word out into the schools, into the families so that they do use it.
Yeah, it's a great park and it's big. And a lot of people don't even know it's there because you don't even know how to get into it. You have to know that it's like the secret park. Let's see, the TPA, what is that? The Transportation Planning, we're gonna be coming up asking for citizen coming forward for different boards. That's been added as one that we can add, which we need a citizen person to come up and to volunteer to be part of the planning administrator, the planning aid, TPA, but they have a separate citizen group. And I think it'd be good to have, we're the only one of two, I think, not represented. And so I've been asked to send the word out. So if you're interested in transportation, now's your chance. Something I was on Facebook the other day, and as you know, I'm on Facebook a lot, and it's the beach bucket, beachbucket.org. Now, apparently we have them at Chrysler Park. I saw it on Facebook. It's a great idea. I'm going to reach out to the beachbucket.org folks because they just had an event. And so I want to bring that to every entrance to the beach that we go in, where it's a rack with, the 5-gallon bucket. You fill up a bucket, you walk around and you dump it out. So we'll need enough garbage cans to support that, and we'll need enough racks. And I don't know exactly how to go about it, but I think it's a great idea that we should keep going. I think that's all. There was something else I was going to bring up, and I will, thank you. I will go on. You want to add more things to your comments, folks?
I just wanted to say, you were talking about Spillway Park. There is a fundraiser that's supposed to be taking place May 21st at Spillway Park, which is going to be through College Park, NAPC, and you will have Dunking Your Commissioner. I will be there. A dunk tank, and that is to raise money for some of the playground equipment and the games that the Department of Leisure is trying to purchase, which are some concrete. What is that that beanbag toss game? Cornhole. There's a concrete table that would be used for checkers and chess. And then there's a ladder toss. So there is a fundraiser on May 21st. Look forward to details coming out from the NAPC in College Park.
Okay, is that equipment for Spillway Park or just in general?
For Spillway Park.
Okay, great. Thank you. Ronaldo, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to point out, I do have a connection to Beach Bucket Foundation. So I have a pretty good idea of how they work, and I think that's a phenomenal idea. And I'll point out one tidbit one fact that I think some will find interesting, or something that we should really be proud about is, I asked him what the top concern is, and people will always say those buckets will get stolen. Fishermen walk around, buckets get stolen. And he made it really clear to me that of all the stations that they have, which are all over South Florida now, Chrysler Park in Lake Worth is the only one didn't have a bucket stolen. So I think it's a great idea. I can't remember what the prices were that we throw down, but they're really reasonable for what they bring. So I'm all for that.
That's great. Thanks. So you want to take that on?
Sure. I could talk with Carmen on that. Yeah.
Since you have a relationship with him anyway, it would make sense, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
What happens when you have something to say, Commissioner Diaz?
I'm telling you. Okay, thank you very much. So that's, city manager's report. Carmen Davis is up in Tallahassee, working for the city.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Didn't have much. Since we're talking parks, I guess I can provide a few announcements. One, I just want to announce about the Taco Fiesta in Bryant Park that will take place April 22nd from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. We had a blast last year, and we should do well this year. I want everyone to come out and enjoy. And as we talked about a lot of parks, And we talked about our great staff, leisure services team. They are awesome. And the reason why we enjoy our wonderful parks and programs and services, because we have such a dedicated and passionate team that has a hard time saying no to a lot of things, but they continue to work hard and do all that they can to make everyone happy in the city. So I want to say thank you to our leisure services team and all that they do. And that's it for me.
Thank you. And they, I mean, really with gay pride and street painting and everything else, it's amazing what they do. And we're all
Yes.
very much for that. Okay, moving right along, approval of the oh no, public participation of non-agenda items and consent agenda. So, Madam Clerk, do you have any non-agenda items cards?
I do, and I do. Do you want me to start?
I'll start. For the folks that have come and actually sat here, let's let them go. Mr. Jones, you're up first.
Yes, my name is Kevis Jones, and I got a couple of questions to ask you.
I'm sorry, can you give your address, please?
My address is 2500 Springdale Boulevard.
Yep.
Zip code is 33461.
You got it. We don't really answer questions
Yes.
here. So what I would say, I mean, you're welcome to speak. You've got,
Yeah.
Why don't you speak about your issues and then maybe one of us can get back to you if it's something that we can help you with.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't you go ahead, shoot.
I got about the trolley. And I was here before.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
we do.
My question is when they're gonna have the trolley up and running again?
Good question.
And I got the homeless people that's living in the park, because I go to the art program right across the street from the Palm Beach State College.
Uh-huh.
So it's a great facility, by the way. But it's still homeless people that are living in the park, and they are scaring off the clients that go there.
Well, that's
I know you can't do anything about it, but
right. It's a terrible, no, listen,
Yes.
we have the whole country is just we have terrible homeless problem all over. And
when I did the speaking engagement with our state senator, Rick Scott,
mhm.
I addressed that they should have a homeless shelter for the homeless people.
Well, they do.
Yeah, but it's all the way by the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
And some people, they don't want to go that far. So I was every time I talk to a homeless person, I will address about the homeless shelter that is by the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
I'll let them know that there is help.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm grateful, I'm thankful for being here today, talking with you guys.
It's always good to see you.
Yes,
Yeah,
my pleasure.
yeah, we appreciate it. We appreciate your thoughts.
Yes, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Have a great evening. Thank you so much. Greg Richter. And on deck, Peggy Fisher.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
How
evening.
are you? Greg Richter, 1202 South Palmway. Madam Mayor, City Commissioners. I want to talk just briefly about decorum. As was pointed out at the Gulfstream meetings we had, when people in the audience were attempting to shout down Commissioner Boyd, rightfully, we were told by the commission, by the mayor, to knock it off, and that was the right thing to do. And so I think that was a fair thing to do. Last Thursday night, I attended the District 2 Town Hall by the commissioners. And by the way, it was a wonderful event. And I look forward to more of these. But however, the first person I ran into was Ed Liberty, our utility director. And I was almost afraid to shake his hand due to the nail wounds he could have had from the crucifixion that took chamber 2 nights earlier. This was a orchestrated assassination from the dais that took place that night from certain members. Furthermore, there were a number of comments that were read by citizens, but clearly written by 1 or 2 people, because they all said, half of them said, we support the linemen, and the other half said, we support the linemen and fire Ed Liberty. I'm sorry, it was not very original, folks. I'm not here to defend Ed Liberty. I'm really not. What I am here is to defend the city workers and staff that come before this dais who work their asses off every day for us and should be treated with respect and with decorum. And that's all I ask. You know, in 2 years, you all have been, the majority of you have been here. We've already lost the city manager. Now we've lost one. And I just don't want to, be losing more. We're having trouble. Our reputation is causing us to have trouble getting people to work here. I have one closing note, the last Thursday night's meeting. A question did come up about the presentation was made tonight. The only thing I want to say is one commissioner said, don't worry, we're not going to put this in College Park. The only thing I want to say is I want to know what people of Pineapple Beach think. Thank you.
Oh, you weren't supposed to talk about that, Mr. Richter. Peggy Fisher, and on deck is Wes Blackman.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North 8th Street. I'm glad someone other than me came up here and spoke about the lack of respect shown to our city staff by some members on the dais. That's uncalled for. That is against the charter that you all swore an oath to. And as I said at the utility meeting, if you cannot abide by your oath to obey and honor our charter, then you need to resign. So, advisory boards. It is becoming evident that the advisory boards don't have to give their backup to their meeting agendas at any specific time. I understood it to be the same schedule as you all provide. It doesn't seem to be being enforced. Advisory boards also need their advisor to attend their meetings. That's why they have an advisor from the city or from the commission to be there to help if questions arise. If the advisor doesn't show up, then it's a group of citizens trying to do something without any liaison back into the city. And so if you're going to accept a position to be an advisor, you need to commit to show up. And finally, I just thought I'd share some information. Lake Worth Beach has 2.8% of the population in Palm Beach County. 2.8% of all the people. As far as all the land, excluding the water in Palm Beach County, Lake Worth Beach comprises 0.36%. As I said at the district meeting, which was not very well communicated by the District 2 commissioner, you can't solve everybody's problem. We have to address everybody's problems in this little 7-mile city that we live in and we care deeply about. But that means you don't try and solve everybody's problems or everybody's problem that come in here because some other area of the county does not want to deal with them. So they ship the people that are problems to Lake Worth Beach. That's not fair. We need to keep our city as it is and support our single family neighborhoods.
Thank you. You're not supposed to clap, folks. Please don't make me be the mother. Okay, thank you, Peggy. Wes Blackman. I'm not a good mother. And then Wes Blackman, then up after that on deck is Barbara Resch. Good evening.
Okay, good evening. Yes, Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, this is Wes Blackman right here. 241 Columbia Drive. I happen to be a certified urban planner and have a planning practice in Lake Worth Beach. And I'm excited, Commissioner Stokes, right now. Maybe it's because of the hoodie. and a resident of 30+ years. Last October, you approved ordinance 2022-13, which introduced micro units in section 23.4-25 of the land development regulations. It's instructive to look at that ordinance in relation to the proposal we heard tonight. There are limits designed to prevent what I would call negative externalities related to a higher density project. They're the minimum square footage in the
Okay, if this
ordinance
is
that
about
we,
the
no,
point.
it's, I could
Okay.
talk about a
Okay,
blue
I
goat
just-
for 3 minutes, Mayor, if I wanted to, and I'm not. I'm talking about density in Lake Worth Beach, which is
Pointing it out.
what I should be able to do as
I'm
a
not
citizen.
stopping you. I just want to
Okay.
remind you that. we
But
can't
I'm
talk
going to refer to that presentation because we all just heard it. So, and there are going to be other people that mention it too. So instead of talking about a blue goat, they could talk about a blue goat if they wanted to. Okay? Or
How
any,
about we don't talk about any blue goats,
Just keep
Mr.
going.
Black?
anyway. All right. The definition that makes each unit has a bathroom and minimum square footage in the ordinance that you approved in October is 250 square feet. And all micro unit projects must provide a minimum of 20 micro units. That's in the books now. They're also to be in mixed use projects only and shall only be allowed in the city's mixed use zoning districts. It also mentions gourmet kitchens as a common element, and I'm not sure how you send out code compliance and make sure that it's a gourmet kitchen and not just a kitchen that you have a microwave and heat up Hot Pockets. So let's do a quick density calculation here. 24 units of micro communal housing, which we heard about tonight, is limited to 0.2 per acre. 24 units per 0.2 acre. Doing the math, that is the same as a project having 120 units to an acre. The only protection offered here is that these complexes that admittedly promote instability have to be more than 1,000 feet apart. This, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much uncontrolled density, or what I call OTC density, which is short for off the chain. Please consider proposals that add what would be visible density, like accessory dwelling units, invisible density, I mean. That concept is proven in other areas of the country, particularly Oregon and California. Thank you for your time. Unless you think I'm all wet, please consider a mainland location for the Lake Worth Beach public pool. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was not stopping. I'm just trying to make it fair. Barbara Retch, and then up next is Ryan Olander.
Barbara Resch, 422 South J Street. I'm here about probably a not very popular topic. I have had a property across the street from me turned over a little more than a year ago to the Lord's Place as the overseer of the rentals. It has been nothing but a nightmare for the past year. It's currently operating at 419 South J Street, Unit B, as a walk-up drug site. I have talked to Captain Bear, and he and his people are doing everything they can to rectify the situation, but there has been no oversight from the Lord's Place and from some of the Goodwill units in my neighborhood that that it got out of control. They have been there more than a year, and it has been a very bad situation. I would also like to address the fact that my neighborhood, the Downtown Jewel Neighborhood Association, I'm only speaking for myself, but that's where I live, that we have the shower at the church in our neighborhood. We have haircuts. We have clothing being given out. Why would the homeless leave downtown? If you walk through any of the alleys, even the free food program on Saturdays, our alleys in downtown, south of downtown, and I'm sure north, are full of food that the homeless can't cook or refrigerate. We cleaned out this week just a small lot right behind my house. We found a full flat of yogurt. spaghetti sauce, all this food that they take from the church. Why would the people leave if they can take a shower on Thursday? I recently had a woman showering in my hose in my front yard 3 weeks ago on a Sunday when I happened to have people in town from Tennessee. It's just lovely to have them say, there's somebody appears to be showering in your front yard. My house is 40 feet back from the street. It's not on the sidewalk. So we have got to ask, I am asking for the city's help that we can have a liaison with the Lord's Place and have some kind of meeting with the Lord's Place and Goodwill and Salvation Army. And to ask the city that the properties where the houses have been torn down in downtown, there are large dumpsters there that have been filled with trash for more than a month. If you drive by them right now, there are trash cans along because people have been climbing in and taking the furniture out. I went downtown today and parked and walked around the alleys before I came here tonight. And the leather furniture that was up there early in the week's in the alley behind Betty, where the offices are downtown. I mean, whoever tore down those properties, tore down those homes, it was city property and those dumpsters are full. Why have they not been removed? So city manager, if they could please have someone remove those dumpsters and get them emptied. We don't need that to be a trash receptacle. So I would just like, I have talked to the COO of the Lord's Place. I have a great relationship with her at this point. We've been talking a lot. And I asked her specifically what cities in Palm Beach County currently house the programs for the Goodwill and for the Lord's Place. And essentially, it's everything east of I-95, south of North Palm Beach. North Palm Beach, no. Gardens, no. Jupiter, no. Wellington, no. Green Acres, no. No units. No units. Boca, no units. West Palm units. Lake Worth units. Lantana units. Boynton Beach, East units. So why are the eastern communities in Palm Beach County carrying the burden of the homeless population in Palm Beach County? Somebody very eloquently got up and described the size of our city. How can our tiny little city take, and the other little Lake Park is mentioned, they have housing in Lake Park. How can all these little old cities along the coast with some smaller units for rent absorb the homeless homeless programs and have people put into their stuff? So I would like to ask that the city, if we can have a meeting with the Lord's Place and Salvation Army, we have to ask that.
Thank you, that's time.
Thank you. I'll behave. It's my sister.
Jazz hands. No comment. I want to respond to a couple of those things because they've been on my mind. Carmen Davis will back me up. I have been every day this week emailing, why are those dumpsters there? They've been there a month. Why are those dumpsters there? They've been there a month. Who do I have to pay to get rid of those dumpsters? I'm told that somebody has to call to have them picked up. Well, I have asked as patiently as I can, and I'm a patient woman, make the call, get them out of here. I drive past them. They're just up the street. And I had a very good conversation with Carrie Diaz today, who's the head of the Lord's Place, about the problem that Barb has been living with for many months. It's been horrible for them. And just in general, the whole concept of the city and it's all Eastern. So we are going to have a meeting and I'm going to try to get everyone Goodwill, whoever is doing, we know that we're going to be here. Well, I said, why don't you have any places in Palm Beach Gardens? They're too expensive. So, we need to work on that because we really can't be the only place and especially our neighborhood. I mean, there's now a permanent, thank you. I have to smack you when you get home. Yeah, the truth is she would be the one smacking me. There's a permanent shower trolley, on the church grounds now, a block from my house. And every Thursday it's, that's happening. So if we want to help the homeless, that's the whole city help the homeless. So I've said this before in public. So I have addressed some of the things that she has brought up. Well,
if I might, Madam Mayor, since you did comment on a presentation, the family, it's a husband and wife that at their own expense built those shower trailers and then the trailer that provides possibility of laundry. They used to be at a different location in the city and the city didn't allow them to continue. So the comment that they should move to different parts of the city is fine with me, but then we have to put our money where our mouth is.
well, I don't think they're allowed to be there either, frankly. I think we're just not doing. it.
Well, okay, that would be something that ought to come to a vote for the commission of, do we disallow
Well, we have
people to
done,
do their Christian callings and help the less fortunate out? And
Okay,
do we have to deal with the issues and work out how and where? Sure. But that would be something we ought to consider as a whole.
thank you. Okay, Rhino Blunder, and after him, Todd Velez.
Ryan Oblender, 1702 North A Street. I'd like to thank a couple of my community members for bringing this up about last Tuesday's electric commission meeting and the lack of professionalism that was displayed there, sorry, against staff members and airing of grievances, which shouldn't happen. And thank you to Commissioner Maliga for stepping up and reminding everyone to be respectful. Secondly, thank you for putting on the District 2 Public Forum. It was pretty well attended, I think. You did a good job with the Cliff Notes, Commissioner McVoy, but did a community misservice by not recording it. I hear you say in the future you're going to be recording it. There was a wealth of information given by William Waters and other staff members, very detailed information that could have been shared and disseminated with other people, and Cliff Notes just won't do it. So
I was disappointed that it wasn't. I assumed it was going to be recorded. That's what they say about assuming.
And third, I would like to say that I'm saddened by the loss of one of our neighbors, not death, but they are moving out of the city because they operate a food vending business, food truck business. And because the city couldn't get their act together, she decided to leave the city of Lake Worth Beach to move somewhere else where they're more friendly to food truck vendors. So that's one more community leader that's lost because she was very active in the neighborhood association up front, tried to get into city meetings and things and was shot down left and right. And lastly, I can point to Glenn Torsivia behind me, but stopping someone from leaving a public comment is equivalent to violating their civil rights, and you can be sued by members of the public for doing so, even if it's about anything. Goats, bananas, broccoli was mentioned one time. So please keep in mind that us as community members need to be respected as well when we're up here for our 3 minutes of time. Thank you.
Yeah, it's only personal attacks that get, those are not allowed. Thank you. And Todd.
Todd Velez, 530 North G. Our Savior Lutheran will be having a sunrise service, and that'll be about 25 years. So everyone's welcome, crack of dawn at Crusoe Park here in Lake Worth. We also had our Easter hunt, which was a success with the neighborhood and the sheriff and their therapy dogs and cock-a-doodle-doo and the animals they provided. It was a great event. Lake Osborne Presbyterian Church is a PCA, which is a sister church to Tennessee, and the events that took place there. And Reverend Adam Masterson had a very emotional surprise prayer and service. They have arrangements with the sheriff for years during their services. You can look that up on their Facebook. For myself, that touched a point because I've had guns held to my head, not in Lake Worth, but in West Palm, in Northwood, and just coming home from work or overhearing gunshots and having the gun held to my head. Anywho, it touched a spot. Sunlight Church, we had a gun brought on property. And we had how the officer handled it. A student brought several guns, and this was in the recent a few years. And that same officer also responded to First Presbyterian Church, our downtown Lake Worth, with a girl on Flocka. We asked, "What's her problem? And is it Flocka?" "Oh, she just acts that way." Well, then they came in about 7 minutes, which is proper, but it was very upsetting. That same officer did arrive again when we had an arrangement with the guardian angels that stayed on property at First Presbyterian downtown, and also, he drove in his own personal vehicle, which was a funny shade of blue, 4 times as we were having an outdoor activity or selling things, a yard sale. That officer I haven't seen since because of the way it was handled. if you look up Calvary or the May 2011 City Hall meeting, it was the first meeting, you'll hear how, which you would have been there, Mr. Chris McAvoy, what the how it was handled and what was expected with the police and sheriff arrangements in prior, during, and after. You'll have to look up that archived meeting. For myself, I watched how the multiple guns that were found and the person fled. That wasn't, it really took a long time to get them onto the property. That was at Sunlight. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Okay, Madam Clerk, you're up.
Okay. First comment is from Matt Portilla, 1301 Cochrane Drive. Good evening, City Commission and staff. In recognition of city staff, I implore you to think long and hard on what you add to their already full workday. Exploring options for you is exactly what staff is there for, but the options must be worth exploring. Community wants safe and clean streets, water, sewer, power, and flushing in unit toilets. Next is Alexander Schultz, who asked me to read a letter that he had sent to the previous mayor. Dear Mayor Triolo, attached is my April 23rd, 2019 letter to you. In that letter, I highlighted the housing crisis that seniors in Lake Worth Beach are facing and encouraged support for another senior Section 202 high-rise similar to Lake Worth Towers. We have seniors born in this country over 60 years ago, some of whom are veterans who are facing homelessness after being forced out of a job, having worked 40 years and now on Social Security. The city of West Palm Beach is aggressively pursuing senior housing projects, yet we do not even have any discussion here in Lake Worth Beach. In fact, some of the development projects here may be forcing seniors out of their homes. I encourage Lake Worth Beach and Palm Beach County to make every effort at providing more affordable senior housing here in Lake Worth Beach. I am retired and have only so much time and resources as an individual to assist seniors here in Lake Worth Beach to obtain affordable housing. It is time that Lake Worth Beach and Palm Beach County take action here in Lake Worth Beach to make more affordable housing available to seniors. Next is from the Romano family, 124 Vassar Drive. Mayor, commissioners, and city staff, Lake Worth Beach needs to protect its single-family zoning for all its residents. We should be working to lift all our neighborhoods up and make them all healthy and dignified places to live. Wallace Anderson, 1603 North Lakeside Drive. Novel housing concepts intended to capitalize on increased density while sacrificing quality of life and longevity of utility to the dweller would be a bad idea. The commission should be fighting any further degradation of living standards for our community's working class. I fear for those most vulnerable and in need of safe, affordable housing being offered quick, cheap, and easy fixes while only being provided in exchange a newfound low for bare minimums in human accommodation. While temporary housing has a place in a healthy community, I am highly doubtful it will be provided by the profit motive. This seems like it would be a recipe for disaster for those trying to build a stable family community in the neighborhood. Sam Winikoff, 602 South Federal Highway, Unit 8. The 6th Avenue South and Federal corridor of our city has long suffered from some of the grossest disinvestment in this city. Now is the time for the commission to show that it cares about an equitable quality of life the residents who live in that part of the city. Why is Pineapple Beach the only neighborhood without a park? Why does 6th Avenue lack any pedestrian or cyclist-friendly right-of-way? Why do we not have enough parking for all the people who already live in Pineapple Beach and downtown Jewel? What is the city's plan for lifting up the south side of our town and making Lake Worth Beach a welcoming and safe place for all to live? We must invest in the southern part of our city and preserve the integrity of our current land development regulations. Michael Heller, 616 South K Street. My family is proud to call Pineapple Beach our home. We believe greatly in the potential for Lake Worth Beach to be a prosperous place for all residents. To this end, the City Commission should prioritize the protection of its zoning districts and avoid any policies that would materially harm the quality of life of its residents and invite a torrent of affected parting actions. Mercedes Rico, 622 South M Street. I have loved living in Lake Worth Beach for almost 20 years now. As a retired school teacher on a fixed income, the quality of life my city offers me is critical for my well-being. I count on the City Commission to protect and improve my neighborhood so it can be a dignified place for everyone. Patrick Ford, 1017 North F Street. As an investor and property manager in Lake Worth Beach, I work hard to provide healthy and affordable housing to those who need it most. I encourage the City Commission to protect the integrity of its zoning and the quality of life for all its residents. If the Commission truly cares about addressing its historic inequities, it should prioritize proven solutions like legalizing accessory dwelling units, regulating on-street parking, creating more parks and public spaces, and encouraging commercial growth to generate employment. And the last comment is from Jill Carlin, 2381 Sunset Avenue, apartment 205. Right out of the gate, the day after Ms. Davis took her job as city manager, I presented a bold visionary plan for our city.
And we think you froze.
I'm glad you spoke, Mayor, because I thought it was my end.
I'm sorry?
I said, I'm glad you said something. I thought it was on my end.
It's the clerk. She's gonna sign back on, I'm sure. Otherwise, we all just go home.
Ski lift
She's
to
back.
transport people to our beachfront from.
Ma'am, I think we missed a bit of that letter. Actually, you were
You missed all
gone.
of it.
I think we missed most of
You
it.
got the first three
All of it.
words.
From Jill Carlin.
Yeah. Yeah, you were gone for a minute.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, then I'll start again. Right out of the gate, the day after Ms. Davis took her job as city manager,
Are you kidding? Is this April Fool's joke? Can you hear us, ma'am? She's reading like crazy. She's chatting away. I'm gonna text her and say.
I'm doing that too. City manager.
Nice. This is,
a gondola, think ski lift, to transport people to our beachfront from the Tri-Rail station.
I have to stop you. I have to stop you, Miss Coyne, because you started when the day that Carmen started, and then you came back to the gondolas.
I didn't cut her off.
Something's happening, doing it, something's happening, and we would like you to try again.
Okay. Okay, so she was talking about the bold visionary plan for the city. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. In my presentation at minute 22 on December 6, 2021, I highlighted 4 focus points: South Ellen M Street, the Gulfstream Hotel, the Lake Worth Beach Golf Course, and Oceanfront Park to redevelop sustainably to reach goals of carbon neutrality by 2035. Can you hear me still?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, July 5th, 2022, I made a second presentation solely on the Oceanfront Park. I included a gondola, think ski lift, to transport people to our beachfront from the Tri-Rail station, thus eliminating automobile traffic in our city and at the beach. In making this presentation, I met several times with a world-renowned vendor, Poma. Poma sent their American regional engineer to meet with me and map out a route, gave me the figures, and showed us the ROI on this method of transportation for our city. This would make our city a placemaker a destination for which folks would come to ride the gondola over our adorable 20th century South Florida beach vernacular, architecturally intact city. I subsequently met with the city manager with another concerned citizen and engineer about a year ago to encourage Ms. Davis to follow through with contacting the vendor. I haven't heard a word. This is disappointing. I hope that in the future, if Ms. Davis remains city manager, she will respond by following through. Now she is getting her legs. She knows the players and how important it is for us to move forward sustainably and keep our adorable charm. Please be a leader with vision. I love to see her take action and keep the vision alive and moving forward. Thank you. That is the final comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. We have no consent agenda. Mr. Elwood, hold on that. Kind of applause. We have no consent agenda today. Is that correct?
That is correct. We do have approval of the minutes that would follow.
That was the next thing I was going to do. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 21st and the March 22nd meetings?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? All right, thank you very much. Now we're going to public hearings.
I'm sorry, I did not hear a second.
That was Commissioner Vice Mayor McBoy.
I didn't turn my
Thank you.
mic.
But we didn't vote.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Good to see you.
While everybody's walking out, did we have a vote?
We're gonna give the house is clearing out. We're gonna give them a minute. Go to the bathroom.
I don't think we voted on approving the minutes.
What?
We have a motion. We didn't vote yet.
We didn't vote on the minutes.
Yes. I'm out there too.
Bye.
Can you get by?
Thank you.
You advertise. Thank you very much. Because I found she was gone from the funding post, but they just had.
Yeah.
This said they were right.
This.
Yes. Maybe probably not, but. Yeah, you can raise a couple more by me, but I don't want to dictate.
Madam Mayor, are you ready to continue? Can somebody unmute the commission on the computer, please? Oh, you're good.
Yeah,
What?
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 Yep, there they are. See.
Oh, the other 12, okay. Okay, now we are at ordinances.
I'm sorry, were we gonna have a vote on the minutes? Because I did not hear one.
We had a motion, a second, then we took a break. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Thank you.
Nope. So ordinance 2023-02. This is the second reading. Madam Clerk, do I have to read the quasi judicial tonight for this?
That's a question for William.
Unless there is new information or ex parte information or interaction since the first
Okay,
reading,
so I can ask them.
yes.
Have you had any interaction with the applicants on this one, with anybody about this? Ordinance, Chris, Sarah,
No, ma'am.
Ronaldo?
Nope.
Okay, me either. So, would you read the ordinance, sir?
Happily. Ordinance number 2022-17 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the official zoning map by approving the creation of a residential plan development district located at the northeast corner of Second Avenue North and the LWDDE4 Canal to construct an approximately 5-story, 195-unit residential plan development, as more particularly described in Exhibit A, located within the mixed-use West MUW zoning district with the future land use designation of mixed-use West MUW, subject to specific development standards set forth in Exhibit B. Conditions of approval set forth in Exhibit C. Sounds like a lawyer wrote this. Approving a development of significant impact, approving a conditional use permit, approving a height bonus incentive through the city's sustainable bonus incentive program, approving a major site plan for the development of residential plan development, providing for severability conflicts and an effective date.
Was that 2022-17 that you just read?
Yes.
I believe so.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion? Or do we have any presentation? We've,
The staff and the applicant are here for any questions. If you have any questions about the changes that were made per your direction.
okay, and does anybody want to go over those changes? Oh, there we go. Do I have a motion?
You want a motion and then hear the
Sure.
a motion to approve?
Do I have a second? Second by Sarah. So is there any public comment in this one, ma'am?
I do not have any, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and I don't either. So let's talk. You want to talk about this? Well, I think they want to answer questions if they.
It might be just helpful to move things along. If you'll just go really quickly through what changed in response.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Good evening, Brian Terry with Insight Studio here. I can go very quickly. There were a number of approximately 6 items that we discussed at the meeting a couple of months ago, of which it included in introducing 3 bedroom units into the project. So we've now provided 5 of those, one of which is going to follow the affordable program of the city with the limitation of the 105% AMI. Addition of elevators into the building. So a second elevator has been added into the building floor plan. The inclusion of littoral plantings that now ring around the entire perimeter of the lake itself is being included into the new design plans. We did approach Lake Worth Drainage District about potential improvements within the canal right away, which they would not permit. But we wanted to let you know that we did pursue that.
Thank you.
There's a modification or addition to an access gate that's going to be provided down in the very bottom corner there for LWDD access along the canal. And then lastly, there we go. Modification of the dog park, there's a condition that we add a little bit of landscape around the dog park to address filtration. And then a dedicated ride share space is being located there on Second Avenue. And that is the summary of our modifications that we're making to the plans that were at the direction of this commission. And so we certainly would appreciate your support.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments from the commission?
I have a few, but.
Go ahead.
First, just looking at that, the light gray area with the trees, which if I remember from the map, those are all oaks by Quercus virginiana, I think. in the parking lot? Is that
That's the large majority, yes. I think we have a couple different species on the perimeter.
Oh, yeah, I think the perimeter is different. But the gray that we're seeing, that's all paved, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Hot paved. It's gonna be hot.
So again, I mean, the reality is we designed this in a manner to bring the buildings up to the front so that parking lot was really kind of not visible from Second Avenue. So that parking lot maybe feels a little bit more centralized or focused in this view. Certainly, we're not exceeding, or I mean, we're meeting all the criteria and probably exceeding the criteria for the numbers and locations of landscape islands that are required to provide the shade trees. So we're well within the parameters and requirements of the code for doing that.
Okay, I have a question for staff. A question for staff, and I don't want to broadside you, but what's the minimum when we have trees put in development? And we're gonna have a landscape conversation soon, but how big does a tree have to, I mean, how big do they have to put in those trees?
Well, it's typically at a 10 to 12 for a large tree, a 10 to 12 foot height for installation for a large tree. That's just on average. That would be a spec. And then it has to be, the grade has to be Florida grade A, basically. So it's a high quality tree. It has a single trunk and it usually is about 10 to 12 feet high at installation, which will then grow in. And I just want to say, I remember the testimony from the first hearing and there were constraints by the applicant because we did ask them to look at prior to the first reading, we asked them to look at the tree diamond issue, but they have a lot of exfiltration on the site. So there was some constraints with adding additional tree islands and the diamonds because of their exfiltration that they have, and they're utilizing a good portion of the parking lot.
Drainage?
For drainage under the parking lot.
Do we, and this is just a general question, what about those pavers that have, that allow, they look like this and there's grass in the middle?
Yeah, those are semi-permeable.
Right.
We count them as semi-permeable. We permit them.
Do we encourage them?
Well, we give a credit for them. So yeah, and we allow more paved area if they utilize that particular product. So it's incentivized in our code.
Okay.
So to follow, unless you have more.
No.
To follow on that, that's a reconstructed, it's a drawing that we're looking at here. Would there be more islands if one were to zoom into that? Would we see islands under those trees or pretty much not? I'm not really seeing.
No, correct. Everywhere there's a tree being shown, there's an actual landscape island. So it's not just a diamond. It's actually, I think minimum of,
Are we looking?
I'm sorry, what dimensions? I believe they're 8 foot wide by the length of the stall. So approximately 18, 19 feet. And again, as was mentioned, I mean, almost the entirety of that parking lot has drainage underneath. A reminder that we're in the C51 basin here, and the drainage requirements that are on this property are extreme, frankly, with the large retention pond, and then the necessity of having to do all the exfiltration, storage underneath the parking lot as well. So we certainly try to maximize the numbers of islands and the locations to try to really distribute the shade opportunities across the property. It's a difficult site.
Yeah, it's got challenges for sure. There's just that one area that doesn't have any trees on the right hand side.
On the right hand side of that one area.
Yeah.
Do you have a drawing that you could pull up that shows? Here, I see.
Not in this presentation, but in the civil design package, there is
you've
one
done that.
plan, I believe, that shows the exfiltration
No, not that.
areas.
No, I have
The
no
trees.
quarrels with the exfiltration at all. I think you're doing great on that. And I guess, is that a water management district requirement that it's different? Because I mean, you're on flat sand like all of us.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. No, this is the bare minimum of retention and storage that we have to provide, frankly. So we've done everything we can to minimize the scale. Obviously, it's an expensive endeavor to put all this infrastructure underneath the parking lot.
Yeah, no,
We want to try to minimize that as much as we possibly could, but the reality is that's the requirement to be able to obtain a permit.
Okay. Any other questions?
Do you have any? I didn't see a planting diagram with the littoral shelf. Are you going to plant that, or are you just going to let her?
No, for the littoral shelf, absolutely, yes. So there's a set of plans, I believe we have to have final approval through staff for those plans that do include a littoral shelf and design cross-section that's in the landscape plan as well as the civil plans. And then we have a littoral landscape plan that's been prepared to go that provides for the plant material around the entire perimeter of the lake.
Okay. Anything else?
I didn't. Is it in?
It's in the
our-
landscape plan. Mhm. It's in the landscape.
I have to
package.
scroll my mouse here.
That's really
I mean, that's just not about. I looked earlier.
What do you?
I was just looking to see a little bit more what was, I mean, we talked about when we met before, we talked about looking at the water management district's parking lot and sort of how they relate. And I guess some of it, even though Tommy Stroud used to be at the water management district, he didn't want to connect anything like that to the canal. I guess just looking at it, and thinking about South Florida, that maybe in 30 years when the trees grow up, for long, it's going to be a very hot park.
Yeah.
People to walk.
No walk fans.
I get it. And what is the area that within your site, where can kids play outside?
So we have the primary, obviously we have a walking trail that's going around there's a walking path that works around the entire lake. There is obviously the main amenity to the space is the clubhouse that's in the center of the property, like right in the center of the development site with the pool. And there's a, outdoor barbecue area that's associated with that central amenity. And then there's a dog park that's kind of on the left side or west side of that northernmost apartment building. So again, there's a walking trail that kind of works its way along the entire length of the canal on the west side and then around the entire lake. Those are the primary recreational amenities associated with this development.
It's just, there's no grass,
Well, we would have brought that up in the first, we're at second reading.
well, what I think about is, the way I think about these things is these are, I forget exactly how many units, almost 200 units. And presumably in some of them, they're going to be kids, maybe a fair number of kids. And what do those kids grow up with in terms of contact with something real, that they can play in some dirt, can roll around in grass, or they can dig a hole somewhere. There's a reason there are songs about the concrete jungle. I have a discomfort level of condemning a whole batch of people for multiple generations to not be in. Is there any along your fence? And so there's a 5-foot fence along the west side of the property, along the canal. There are no opens in that fence, correct?
To access the canal?
Yeah.
No, that is not something that we're providing access to. The district does not want us to have public access to the canal.
It seems a little odd. I mean, most of the canals throughout, most of the Lakewood Drainage District canals don't have any fencing.
There is fencing there.
Huh?
There is fencing.
I don't know if there's not, most of the canal I've walked that doesn't have any students who can walk. And again, at least kids could go around and walk. It's some mosquito fish to do something.
So for the record, Brian Seymour, on behalf of the applicant, I spoke with Tommy Stroud personally about the canals and what to do. They don't want kids walking on their canals. We don't want to tell kids to walk on other people's properties. There's liabilities, there's issues. They do spraying on those canals twice a year of pesticides and weed killers that go there. This is in very close proximity to John Prince Park. We do know that there's an opportunity for kids to play. I mean, I grew up in a similar sort of circumstance in Southern California, but we went to the park. We have a great public park amenity right there that's also available for those kids. And so this is obviously balanced between providing the units, providing the parking, trying to provide what we can, and obviously thinking about where we are in the vicinity of there. But the use of the canal was not an option for the district. They want that fence. They don't want people accessing their canals.
Is there also a fence around the lake?
The back lake,
Yeah.
that Brian will have to answer.
Right, not on the interior side. It goes around the northern side of the lake and the eastern side of the lake, because there's the communication tower on the east side that is an easement specific for that, and it's fenced off as well.
The path around the lake is a walking path for the residents.
Correct.
Okay. Anything from Commissioner Malega or Commissioner Diaz?
Commissioner Diaz has his hand raised, Madam Mayor.
We can't see that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like you guys put a considerable amount of plants around that cell tower, which I think will be really appreciated by the people who are going to live there. And I think, I do recall we talked about at first reading asking Mr. Stroud about them putting a gate on that road from 2nd Avenue. I was just curious if he entertained that at all.
We do. We have a gate that's being shown from basically the edge of the canal or the bridge that crosses the canal and tying into our fence. That is, well, really what that does is, again, limiting public access along the canal is their goal. So there is a fence and a gate that's provided there. Obviously, they need to have access and maintain their canal right of ways, but that is being added to the plans based on approval.
That's great, because we talked about how not that area specifically because it's so open now, but surrounding areas has some considerable problems with dumping and whatnot. So I think that's crucial for you guys. And my last comment or question, just from personal interest, a 20-foot littoral zone is pretty significant. So I definitely appreciate that. And I'm curious, are you going to allow residents to fish in that retention pond?
So I'm the lawyer. I will tell you, I would strongly oppose that, because if you start getting into that and one kid falls and gets hurt, we have problems all over. We got to make sure that it's safe as well. So we're providing the environmental enhancement. We're not going to be having people fish in that pond and someone falls in and we got problems.
Yeah.
So we got to be very careful with that.
What's the access to the pond at this point?
You
You
can
can
walk
walk
around
around
it.
it. Is there
Well,
a fence between the walkway and the pond, or what?
No, well, the walkways,
The walkway is adjacent to the slope of so there's no barrier between the pathway and the water.
You're talking about now?
No, after.
Right, no, it's going to be within distance.
So if
Yeah.
I get Brian to do like this and I want to take my fish net.
My
out
son
there,
would be fishing in that lake.
So look, I'm telling you, people may not fish in the lake. I'm telling you, we're going to tell them they can't fish in the lake.
You can put up all the signs you want. As long as they get to it, I'm okay.
I will only tell you, we are not looking to have people fish in the lake, but we also know that people don't always follow our rules, but we'll do our best to be protective and careful.
My son
Yeah,
would-
I suspect you'll use a lot of fire flag and
Well, I'm sorry, Ronaldo, what?
I was just saying, I suspect you'll use a lot of like fire flag and plants that are gonna discourage people from going for a swim. So
Alligators.
I hear you on that.
Oh, really? Okay, so do we have any more questions from anybody? Ronaldo? I'm sorry, what?
It looked like.
Oh, I think, so we have a motion and we have a second to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Again with the clap. I'm not being harsh. Okay. Now we're at number 2023-02, second reading. Mr. Tresivi, would you read it?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Ordinance number 2023-02 is an ordinance of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 23, Section 23.2-39 Affordable/Workforce Housing Program. Right, for clarification on combination of incentives, qualifications for affordability, and participation in other entity programs, and providing for additional affordability buy down provisions, and providing severability, conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
Thank you. Okey doke. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, are there any public comments, Madam Clerk?
There are not.
Okay, I have none up here. Do we need anything from staff?
Nothing's changed. It's
Nothing's changed. It's all the same.
Yes. ma'am.
So I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. Everyone voted to aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now, I've never done this on the computer before. I brought my power cord. That I
Are
did.
you don't need your power cord.
I
They
have,
have them built in.
oh, I didn't
I know.
know. that.
Are
Okay,
you gonna be hooked now? Computer, are you going?
no,
paperless?
no,
No?
I'm not. I like paper.
Okay.
I'm old.
So we're on.
I'm trying to get to the front so I can do the thing. Okay. Okay, now we are on. the third one.
C, I think.
Yeah, ordinance number 2023-03. We have two. And 2023-04, second reading. Let's start with 2023-03.
Okay,
Would you read it by title?
thank you. Be happy to. Ordinance number 2023-03 of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the city's comprehensive plan future land use map through a small scale map amendment from the future land use FLU designation of public recreation and open space PROS to the public PFLU designation on the property generally located at the east side of South Douglas Street, west of the FEC Railway, south of Latana Avenue, and North Hillbrook Drive at 1718 South Douglas Street, and is more particularly described in Exhibit A, providing the conflicting ordinance of repeal, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to,
Good.
motion to approve.
Second.
By Commissioner Stokes. Do we need any discussion or is the second reading just all in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. It passes. Thank you.
And that was for the children. leave.
Yes, that was yes. And then the next one is 2023-04.
Ordinance number 2023-04 of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending the city's official zoning map from the zoning district of public recreation and open space, PROS, to public, P, on the properties generally located at the east side of South Douglas Street, west of the FEC Railway, south of Latana Avenue, and North Hillbright Drive at 1718 South Douglas Street, and is more particularly described in Exhibit A, providing the conflicting ordinances of repeal, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Do I
Motion to
have-
approve?
By Commissioner Malega. Do I have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I have none here. So all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, new business. Do you want to take a 5-minute break?
Huh?
You still okay?
I'm good.
Consulting, okay, new business A, consulting, continuing contracts for professional services for geotechnical category. Valentina, you're up.
Good evening, Valentina Sesteta, Assistant Finance Director for Purchasing. This is the last category that I'm bringing for you for continuing contracts for professional services. As explained before, city has a requirement for professional consulting firms to provide different engineering services. This is for geotechnical category. In this category, we received 5 qualification submittals. Evaluation committees shortlisted all 5 firms. They all came in and did their presentations. And the final evaluation meeting, they recommended 4 engineering services firms. And those are I'm sorry,
Tierra
Tierra
South.
South Florida Incorporated, Red Eyes International, GFA International, and DBA Universal Engineering Services and Terracon Consultants. So we are seeking for your approval for these agreements for.
Thank you. Any public comment, Madam Clerk?
I have no public comment on any other items this evening.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion already?
I don't think so. Motion to approve?
Do we have a second? That's right.
I'll second. We didn't want to give you no chances for seconds up there.
Okay, well, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Next up, we have an agreement.
Madam
with-
Mayor?
Yes.
May I interrupt and just tell you that yesterday we learned in ethics that technically they really don't like for the people who are on Zoom to make a motion or a second. So we may want to talk about that down the road.
Oh,
Well then. Okay.
we'll cover it down here.
They may not like it, but it's still legal.
Yeah, it's legal. I mean, yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
It is. It is. I understand not liking it, but
They just don't like it. They had an ethics course up there today or yesterday. All right, B, agreement with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for comprehensive sustainability analysis for the city for the fiscal year 2024 budget.
Yes.
You're up.
For the record, Yannick Gendahio, Interim Finance Director. This is an extension of the agreement we have with Stantec. You're pretty familiar with their work since 2019. They provide various budget projections, and they're going to be helping us during the work, making presentations during the workshops that we had this year.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Seconded, just a minor comment after that part.
Okay,
I love the services. This is the real-time modeling.
Yes.
An Excel model that lets us look at, different options and what if scenarios. It's very helpful. My only thing was a little bit of, it's not really sustainability analysis in the sense that other people understand that, or most people understand it. I would say, comprehensive financial analysis.
Financial analysis? Okay.
But that's my.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ronaldo?
Aye.
Thank you. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. C, Resolution 8, 2023, FDOT Local Agency Program Agreement, ADA Improvements. Mr. Brown, you're up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and
Good
Commissioner.
evening.
For the record, Jamie Brown, Public Works Director. So this item is in regards to back in 2020, we submitted each year the Palm Beach Transportation Planning Agency. It offers two grant programs, federally funded. One is the Transportation Alternatives Grant, and the other is the Local Initiatives. We applied for the transportation, well, actually both, got both. But this is for the transportation planning or the actual Transportation Alternatives Grant. So we're going to utilize this to do citywide ADA ramps. If you remember correctly, when we did the 4-year bond, it only did about a third of the city. So we still have a lot of work to do. So while this isn't going to actually work on roadways themselves, we can actually tackle a lot of the areas where we're deficient on ADA ramps. So this is going to be a citywide, all 4 districts. So the whole goal is at the end of this, we won't have any.
We'll be done.
That will still need to be addressed. So the initial ask was the 914,000 that I had in the agenda item. Luckily, for us, maybe not for other municipalities,
we know
that have kind of either shifted because their projects have changed, the projects have dropped off, they've been postponed. DOT was actually able to give us more money than they initially had said they were going to. So they upped their amount to the 1,107,000.
Right.
And the new estimated, because we went back working with utilities, electric utility, they were able to relocate a lot of the poles that are conflicts. So we were able to add a lot more than we initially were. So we now are up to an estimated value of 1.277.
Congratulations.
And we're going to move.
Fun.
No clapping.
No clapping for that. So the one thing of note is that in the FY23 CIP, we had budgeted $870,000 for this project. And that is because lap projects are reimbursed. So we pay up front, DOT reimburses as they get the pay apps. So it's not coming out of pocket per se, it's just we have to be reimbursed for it. With the additional work and the additional money that we're going to be receiving, we are going to have to up that another 270 $237,000 as part of this upcoming budget process.
But we'll get it back.
Construction, we'll get it back. So ultimately, what we're going to be coming out of pocket is that $169,000.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
$1.2 million.
That's wonderful.
So this item is just asking for, this is the resolution that then allows us to do the agreement with DOT.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Diaz?
Okay.
You
Aye.
can't,
And I
Thank
also want to add one really quick thing, because we often get questions about the conditions of our sidewalks, and
Well, you cut out. We got this.
he's
slide,
frozen.
and then you dropped.
He's gone.
Name is still there, but we can't see you or hear you.
His name, other,
Way over on the right.
well, he'll ask it at another time, or if he comes
I'll
back.
finish the sentence. The conditions
Okay.
of our sidewalks are fantastic.
Well,
Citywide, across the board, I'm pretty sure that's what he was.
he was probably gonna say that, yeah. There's no problem with the side.
And you were going to disagree with him, right?
I was going to disagree, but I'd like to disagree.
Okay.
with Commissioners.
Ronaldo, we can't hear you, but we're gonna go anyway. We still have a quorum. So,
I was just gonna add that this will be coming back to you guys, because as we move through the procurement process, we're gonna have to get a contractor on board. And then I'll be
All
bringing
right.
that whole contract back.
Okay.
So this will be coming back. We actually move forward.
great. So do I have a motion?
We did it all.
We, what, we did that already?
You had the motion, Madam Mayor.
Favor?
I think we
Aye.
voted. Aye.
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 Sarah?
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous except Ronaldo's missing.
And now he's fallen off.
Now he's gone. Okay, next up, D. Thank you very much. Construction agreement with M&M Asphalt Maintenance, Inc. for the Harold Grimes Memorial Park Improvement Project Phase 1B, parking lot resurfacing.
So it's me again. This is all CDBG funds, Community Development Block Grant for the county. The 1A was obviously, we're doing this year, which is the actual pavilion itself and all the upgrades we've gone through, and we've talked about this multiple times in multiple items. So with the additional money we were able to get, we now have a phase 1B, and we're going to take care of the parking lot. So the parking lots, obviously, if you guys have been in the parking lot there, it's a mess. This is going to basically mill and resurface the entire parking lot, all the associated concrete work, redoing the concrete aprons, restriping the entire thing, and new curb ramps and everything else. So this is basically taking care of the parking lot as well. So when we get done with this project, it's going to be completely new, everything. So it's a long time coming, this project.
You, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi, Ronaldo's back. All right. Okay, next one is ordinance number, good night, guys. Ordinance number 05 to 2023, first reading. Okay, adopting a single member election redistricting map. Well, you can read the ordinance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ordinance number 2023-05 is an ordinance of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, adopting a single member election redistricting map, repealing Article 2, territorial boundaries, election precincts, Section 2, election districts of this charter, adopting a new Article 2, territorial boundaries, election precincts, Section 2, single member election districts to reflect the redistricting map and its boundaries and for other purposes and permissibility, conflicts, codification, and the effective date.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay,
Get them out.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. It's unanimous. Thank you very much. The next up is the discussion of the city manager's annual evaluation. And this is important because we want it to be, I have been in the situation myself and it's often used. I don't see any, okay. I think it's fair to our city manager to have an annual evaluation. In the past, it's like when there's a problem, let's have an evaluation. You know, it's like a warning shot. So have you seen there's questionnaires that have been passed that you've had the one-on-ones with?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you want me to give it a little overview?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd
thank
be
you.
fine.
Why not?
So we pay the big money for it.
So we've developed a form, come up with a draft. I've gone over it with Carmen several times. We've met with each of you. And now we're kind of refining it and hopefully we'll get it out to you soon. And I think it'll be in a format where if you have comments, you can input it right on the form. And then we will bring back a form for your approval. Once you approve the form officially, then you will engage in an evaluation process, presumably one-on-one initially, and then publicly for evaluation.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. So the concept is to have one-on-ones with Ms. Davis with the evaluation form,
Yes.
and then put those forms all together and report back.
Yeah. So you're right. Let me stand up.
What interesting.
Yeah. So the concept is that first, let's all agree on the form, and that's the process we're in right now. And you've all seen the latest draft, and I know we're tweaking it a little bit. And then once the draft is finalized, we'll just present the form so that officially you can adopt that as the form that's going to be used. Then the hope is that each one of you would meet one-on-one with Ms. Davis and provide her an evaluation and have a back and forth, give and take, and then come to a commission meeting where those forms are then collected, presumably by the mayor, and tallied up. So to make it simple, let's make believe there's 10 categories in a scale of 1 to 10, 1 to 5, and you just add them up and then do the average and say, okay, Commissioner McVoy's total average is a 4. You know, mayor's is a 4.1, Commissioner Stokes is 4.2, whatever the numbers are. And then you collectively conduct the evaluation, but you've essentially had in your one-on-ones the real, more meat and potatoes, and then publicly you can refine.
So we'll have I think the public is interested in this. And so
Absolutely.
when we have the forms in and the one-on-ones, it'll come back to us as a commission, and we'll have a public conversation about
Yes, absolutely.
comments. It's not just numbers. It's like.
Oh, it's not just numbers. No. And you all seen the form. There's spots for comments everywhere. And we're expecting that you're going to have comments publicly as well.
Right. Okay, Commissioner Stokes, your light was on first.
So I just wanted to get clarification. Well, I have the form that you gave at me last
Like a week or so ago.
Wednesday, right? So about a week ago, I'll be looking at this, but you'll send out another. There wasn't a lot of detailed feedback. Have you gotten a lot of detailed feedback from the other?
We've had the similar
Commissioners?
conversations, and tweaking is probably the right word. I don't think there's going to be wholesale revisions to it. The general form was key. We want to know if you wanted that more, and just so the public knows, we went with a much more in-depth form. So if there are 9 categories, instead of just 9 categories where it's 1 to 5, each category has subcategories where they might have 3 or 4 questions in category 1, you might have 7 or 8 questions in category 2, so that you're going to have hopefully a bit more of a robust conversation. I know Ms. Davis is looking forward to, where's the areas of improvement? Where am I doing well? So it gives the idea is really to make it a truly interactive evaluation experience.
And the goal is to adopt a form in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So you're going to need to have the backup ready in the next, 2 days. How much lead time do we do now?
Well,
and so then we'll get the backup on. But once we have that on the agenda in 2 weeks, we might be able to, if I look at the form that you've put up on the backup, I haven't had time to say, topic 1, line 4, I want to tweak it this way or not. That's a discussion.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be in 2 weeks. It might be, I'm hoping it's going to be in 2 weeks, but we still have to get you each back the form that's tweaked, and you have an opportunity to then email in any comments or changes. So it may take one meeting longer than we were hoping for.
And then it'll just be approving the form, and then we'll actually have the evaluations after that.
Correct. So
Right.
step 1 is approving the form, which I think we already passed the deadline for the April 18th meeting.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's probably the May 2nd meeting will be approving the form, and then the mid-May meeting will be the actual evaluation.
And then on May 2nd, though, so it's always so challenging doing collective work like this.
Yes.
So you're gonna hear from each of us individually, you're going to try to get the form as close to what you think we all are desiring. But when it comes back to us, that first meeting in May, that will be a chance for us to communicate with each other about any changes that we may have suggested that we didn't see here.
Absolutely.
And be able to have that.
Absolutely. I mean, the point is to get you as close to final product, but I certainly,
Right.
I'm not going to be surprised if you say, well, in category 3, I really don't like this subset, or we want to change the language, or we want something new. So that's the point of the collective meeting. This is to get you to the point where it's kind of teed up for you to have that full discussion.
Okay.
And
Vice Mayor Boyd.
And the procedure, just so I understand, along the way, I'm turned on, is you're gonna send us an electronic version of this. We mark it up with track changes or whatever and send it back to you. And then you get the big job of collecting 5 different versions and trying to.
And try and get as close to what I think is, a final form. But then, as we just had the conversation with Commissioner Stokes, you're then going to have a public meeting where you might say, I really wanted that. Why didn't that make it? Or you might think of something different collectively. 5 heads are better than one. And you'll come up and say, well, whatever changes you want to make.
2 comments to help on that along the way is, I do like that there's considerable detail in the second form that you gave, in each category. I forget how many there are. I think you mentioned 9.
9.
There's often, 1 to 4, 7 or whatever questions. The only question that I have with that is, would my colleagues be interested in, let's say that you have, relation with the public, there are 6 items under it. I have a feeling that, without even looking at them in detail right now, I have a feeling that there might be a degree of agreement. Look, the third one, that's really your big one. And we don't, and I'm making, obviously I don't know what the third one is, but by having that many and not any weighting on them, that third one gets pretty diluted out in some things that we might not think. Can we have a mechanism that if they're put a weighting on them, and it might be the initial cut is all the weightings are equal.
Exactly. That's the initial
That's
cut.
the initial cut. And then we all look at it and say, well, actually, I think number 5 is, twice as important as the others, or whatever it is.
Can I offer my opinion on this?
Sure.
Thank you. I do think, I agree, some things do feel like they should be weighted higher than others, but I think that would be a very challenging task for the 5 of us to get together and come up with those weights. However, I do think something I think we need to vote on the form, and then we also need to decide on the overall process. So right now it's kind of generally meet with Carmen. That's great, because we're not going to be able to give her feedback from all 5 people in 30 minutes. Just not going to happen. So let's get a lot of feedback, get those discussions going. But if every single item is out of 5, we could adopt something that says any item that scores lower than an average of 3.5, we're going to bring back to discuss. I'm just picking 3.5 as an example, but we could adopt something to say, if anything that's scoring 4s and 5s on average after we collect it, we're going to have to choose. I think the weight comes in choosing what to bring out and discuss. I told in my meeting with the city manager, I said, these are supposed to be a tool to make sure that we're all on the same page of how we want things to function and on the same page of how we think things are functioning, so that we can use them to get better. And I personally don't think, one score is very telling. So if we add up all 9 categories and take the averages, and we take the averages of all of us, and we just say here's the score, yay, you're in this bucket. That's not a very useful conversation starter. It's looking at, all right, where did we score the highest? Awesome, keep it up that work. Where did we score the lowest? Let's dig into that a little bit more, and use it more as a communication tool to make sure that we're all in alignment than any single, just like with schools and gradings. You never just want to assign one grade, one number to a person. It just, it misses the picture.
And the conversation you're having right now is exactly the kind of conversation that I think we're going to have in a few weeks when you have the final form and we had the tweaks. Somebody might propose, we weight things. So we do what you just proposed. So that's why I think it's important that we have to have that public process where you can wrestle a little bit. And this is, for the public standpoint, there's a lot more work for the commission. It's than a simple form that has 9 categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This forces you to really think, and forces Carmen to really talk about each of these, because I added them up. I forgot what they are, but there's probably 35 different subcategories in the 9, maybe even more. So you really dig in to the expectations. And this is also the roadmap for next year. These are your expectations for what you're looking at for next year's evaluation. So I think what I'm hearing is we're on a good track. And, I get all your feedback, and if you have questions, once you see the next draft, you all know my number.
Our statistician would like to have another comment.
I would.
Well, this is your.
Yeah, well, and I work for a very large organization where I have annual performance reviews and we do this stuff. And it's really helpful. And
That's why we're doing it.
yeah, along those same lines I had brought up that I think we should ask our HR department to look into a way that we can design and implement. There's companies that do this all the time for their job. And you can either call it an employee engagement survey, an employee satisfaction survey, an employee some sort of survey that where, again, it's a tool that HR and directors and city management office can use to see, okay, which departments are happy, which ones are struggling. I do one every quarter, and the company looks for improvement. They don't look, it's not meant to be this like, oh, your employees over there are miserable, like, and yell at you. It's like, in this area, again, we scored lower than we'd like to. And then we look back the next quarter and say, did management take these concerns seriously? And then the next quarter, and I'm not saying we have to do it quarterly, we could do it annually. The next quarter, we look at the data again and say, oh, look at this. Our employees were unsatisfied about this item. And then a year later, now they're satisfied. We did our job. We located, we identified a concern, and we got together and said, how can we address this? Like if it's communication, I always get clear directions from my supervisor. Like there's a whole list of questions.
But that's the staff talking about the director.
There's a whole host of things that you can do. One of the questions I get is my manager supports me or my colleagues respect me. And it can really help gauge the climate. It can help gauge if they feel like they're getting I have the tools I need to do my job is one of the questions I get.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
I see you, Ronaldo, I see your hand up. Those comments come from staff though.
They would go to staff into a anonymous.
So you're suggesting having the staff make comments about their director?
I'm suggesting that they rate areas of satisfaction within their job. It's a very common tool.
This is a very different conversation. It's an outgrowth of the conversation. And I got to give Commissioner Stokes credit because the evaluation, the more in-depth form really came from conversations that we had and forms that we talked about. This is kind of the next level. So my suggestion is let's kind of wrap up this. And then maybe you have a workshop about the concept of, and I've heard it called 360, I've heard it called employee feedback. There's a lot of different ways to do that, but I think certainly Lauren in HR is going to need to be involved in that. And she's not been involved in this process at all.
So I'd like to bring back some options for us because this says our city manager maintains regular staff meetings or encourages teamwork, innovation, and effective problem solving among staff members. So this whole section that's on this form, I think it would be helpful to hear from the staff. Otherwise, we end up creating this very top-down view into what's going on. And I think you need both or you're not going to know. So I just want to we're not going to decide it now, but I just wanted to throw it out there to see if my colleagues felt any value in bringing back some options of how we can, I think any large organization that has these tools that they work with.
Ronaldo, your hand was up. Ronaldo, your hand was up.
Yes, it was. Thank you, Commissioner Stokes, for bringing that up because I'm glad I'm not the only one, but I had this conversation with Glenn and Carmen about the concept of the 360 review. I think for sure now, like Glenn pointed out, we're focusing on city manager, but I think this rubric that we're starting with, as we go through it and add our comments and whatnot, I know I am, and I'm not going to tell my colleagues what to do, but I know I'll be going through and kind of thinking about that next step and incorporating that. I'll point out, in the private world, 360 evaluations are really easy because there's no public records law and, things can be kept private, if you will, in that regard. So I think there's some challenges, but I think when we have that conversation, I'd really look forward to it because I think there's a lot there to help improve, not that there needs to be that much improvement, but to help maintain a really good work culture and just conditions for staff and whatnot.
Thank you. Vice Mayor McCoy.
Fairly similar comment. I don't think it's as quite as separate as one might think. Here we are evaluating the city manager, but really what we're interested in is we have all got elected for a purpose to try to help run the city as well as possible for the most benefit for the most residents here. And since we don't do operational things, city manager does that. Part of our ability to get things done is how well is the city manager doing, and part of that is how well are employees, how comfortable do they feel with the situation, and is the city manager creating whatever is needed for employees to be as productive. And if we don't have some method of evaluating, knowing, it's kind of difficult for us to say, well, how is the city manager doing on managing employees? Well, I don't know. If all the employees are happy and there's, wonderful, it sounds like pretty good. But if we don't have any way of doing, and Commissioner Diaz brings up a good point that in industry, you don't have to deal with public records. And obviously to get a good, accurate assessment of how employees feel about a place, they need to have a degree of privacy, quite a bit of it. Perhaps something that you could look at, city attorney, is there a mechanism? Surely we're not the only municipal government that deals with this problem. Are there ways that an outside entity can come in, do those information gathering, and they are the owner of that information? So it is not something to provide that degree of needed anonymity, so an employee can feel comfortable saying, hey, I'm thrilled, I'm not thrilled, or here's what I'm not thrilled about, or whatever.
These were all the challengers that you're talking about as a public entity. So that's why I'm trying to separate this into two. Let's nail down this evaluation for Carmen at this point. And then the bigger conversation is, does the commission want to go down the path of some kind of employee feedback, whether you call it a 360, because you're right, with the public records law, it makes it very difficult. I can't think of any city right now, I haven't really thought much about it, but I can't think of any city that's doing that. And that's partly for that reason, because if you're doing something, it's probably going to be a public record. Again, I don't think this is the time to have that bigger conversation, but I hear loud and clear that there's an interest, and let's start looking into it. I'm just trying to set a realistic expectation that that's probably not going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Probably going to be more of a bigger conversation involving Warren and HR and saying, okay, let's study and survey what are other municipalities doing, if that's the path we want to go down.
I think I don't want it to hold up what we're doing here, but I would like to have Lauren Sladen in our HR department start asking these questions, look around. Are there other cities? I know our clerk is in touch with a lot of others. She usually goes and says, hey, clerks across the state, do any of you have this? And let me know what's going on. So I don't want to stay in this area where we are like, well, maybe it can't happen, maybe it can't, maybe nobody does it, maybe people do, and start moving towards getting some answers around it. So I'd love to I don't think we have to wait for this to wrap up before we start looking into whether other cities do it and what's possible. So I'd like to have someone in staff spend at least, 1 hour or 2 just even doing a first initial investigation.
Okay, I have 2 thoughts. One is we are really, I'm not disagreeing, I'm just saying, I'm just thinking out loud. Is it our role, maybe it is, to go to staff, because we hire the city manager. I'm curious about how operational we're getting, and I'm not disagreeing, this is a question that I have, is how close are we getting to interfere with operations if we approach staff to ask them these questions? So I don't have the answer, I'm just asking the question. And number 2, if we're going to do that, and we're going to be doing Ms. Davis's evaluation, wouldn't that be part of the evaluation that we, if staff is happy or staff is not, areas of improvement, are we gonna incorporate that into the evaluation, or is that just some separate exercise that we do?
I mean, I hate to ask this question, but the slippery slope that this is, and this may be a slippery slope you want to be on, and it may not be, is that going to be limited to the manager, or is that going to be every employee? So every employee in the organization is going to have this type of a up and down review where the, person that's blank job number one is going to have number two and number three, or if they're number two, they're gonna have both number one and number three evaluating them as well. Are we setting the stage for a rollout of a complete overhaul of the way the entire city evaluates their employees, not just Ms. Davis? Or are we limiting this just to Ms. Davis?
I mean, if it's a survey, it's one survey. The other reviews are, I have a 3-6 review at my job too, and all my coworkers or anybody that's at my same level gives feedback into my review, because my manager can't tell. That I think is hard because it's very, it's not numerical. So it's like real rich feedback. I think that would be hard. I think what we do is every single quarter, we are sent out a survey, rank from 1 to 5, how much you agree with this statement. Every employee should be, in my opinion, every employee should be able to contribute to that. They're not directly reviewing their manager. They're not providing rich, robust, complicated feedback. And then the organization that compiles the results of the survey just reports back, here's the results of the survey.
400 questionnaires?
It's all digital.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, we do it every
And
quarter. I went
frankly,
through it once
if this is
a
the
year.
path the commission wants to go on, this is definitely going to be collectively bargained, because the unions, I'm not sure that if I'm a union, I'm going to simply say, okay, I'm going to have my bottom and top evaluating me as helping with my evaluation as an employee. So
That's not evaluating the employees. It's their chance to say, this is how I feel about my job. And
it's
so
just a bigger
certainly, let's bring it to the unions. I think the first step is to see, do other cities do anything like this? Let's see if other cities do anything
that's
like
the first step, right? Let's see what else is out there.
wait to find that out.
Mr. Boyd, you have something?
I do.
Mayor, my hand's been up for a while over here.
And
in
also the
Tallahassee,
city
and
manager,
so-
Madam Mayor.
So is Carmen's. I just don't want you guys to forget about us.
Right, Ms. Malega. Now you're muted.
Yeah, I muted myself. I was waiting. So I want to weigh in on this. I feel as though, yes, it's our job. We hired the city manager, right? But it's also our job to make sure that our staff are getting the needs that they want, right? We just had people storm City Hall and say our line persons aren't getting what they need. So I think to speak to the directors of each department would be conducive in this process. And the reason I say the directors is because they're the ones who meet with the city manager weekly and work through budget and work through HR concerns. And I really think that, we don't have to go on a staff level on this, and hit the streets, but I really do think it's important for us to hear without any repercussions or any backlash on an honest and open conversation from the directors. And, and get input on how we can help facilitate any issues that they're having, and make sure that we bring those, that those issues to our city manager. But I firmly believe that we should really sit down with the directors and have a powwow and just get their feedback on how they're feeling, right? We don't want any more directors leaving the city. We want to show support from the dais that, we've got your back. Let us know how you feel. Let us know if you feel there's an open door policy. Let us feel if your emails are being answered, or your questions and concerns are being answered. I think it's important.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Can you hear me?
We
You
can't.
might want to speak up a little. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize for dropping off from the video. I keep getting low bandwidth, so I turn off my video so I can keep the bandwidth high. So I appreciate this conversation, and so I thank you all for moving forward with this, because as you know, that is one of the items part of my contract that I will be evaluated. And in the contract, it does say that we would come to an agreement as to how the evaluation process will take place. So I appreciate hearing the feedback and hearing your thoughts about this, and welcome understanding your expectations of me and whether I'm meeting those expectations. And so this process certainly brings forth those expectations, and I know what I would be evaluated on. And about the conversation on the employees, I too am interested in making sure that employees are feeling that they're in a healthy organization, that their needs are being met, that they are receiving the resources and the motivation, and also the encouragement to do their job and do it to their fullest. And so having an employee survey is something that I believe that all organizations should have. So I certainly welcome that. How we use that and how that's shaped will be very important if it's used as a supplemental or a supported tool in evaluating the city manager. So I certainly look forward to hearing more about that and how we use that as a factor in evaluation. And I'm getting the message, my internet is unstable, so, but I hope you can still hear me. So yes, I don't mind, and I definitely support looking at other cities and seeing how they do that. I think they'll give us some further guidance in this process. So I welcome it. As I said, understanding the expectations that you have for me is very important, as I would like to, of course, meet those expectations and making sure that I do the best that I can as city manager and running operations of Lake Worth Beach.
Thank you. So Glenn, Mr. Trustee.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
You're going to talk to HR and find out the role that it would take for this staff to, although managers aren't in the union.
No, again, now I'm hearing it's at
Right.
the department head level. And that's obviously a much smaller universe than trying to 400 employees. You know, you're talking a handful of department directors who will have feedback. And I guess part of the question is, if we do this, is this going to be for this evaluation, or is this going to be for next year's evaluation? Are we doing, are you going to use this?
Well, that was my one question.
Right, this type of it.
Is it going to be part of the evaluation?
Right.
Find out what our options are.
Okay.
I feel like we could, what if this and if then that for an hour?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, that's not even possible. So I'm interested in finding out what our options are. And I really do, for me, it is all employees, and it is not employees getting evaluated. It is employees getting a voice to express how they feel their working conditions are. So I'm also happy to run that by the unions. I just don't want it to feel like it's an employee evaluation. It's not. It's a survey for them to, you know, the people on the ground see everything, and they should have a way of communicating that, and it's a safe way of communicating that confidentially.
So we have to be anonymous.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can say anything.
That's the
Well,
challenge.
a lot of it,
That's a challenge.
like I said, a lot of it can be, I have the tools I need to do my job. 1, strongly disagree, you know, so 5, strongly agree, you know, so it's a way, the way that they're designed, we wouldn't be designing it. We'd have a company that designs it, like the vice mayor said. They would probably issue it. They'd probably collect the results, compile them, give us the score and say, look, on average, you scored a 4.5. So the majority of your employees feel that they have the tools they need to do their job. Awesome. Next, you know, but I think having HR look into cities and do an initial sweep of what that would mean is a great first step. But for me, it's not about broadening the number of people we're giving reviews to. It's about getting that extra information to help us know and to help. It would help the directors know what's going on. It would help the city manager know what's going on.
Right. I mean, the timing is odd because we're trying to do
Right. So it might not be for this one. And I'm also very interested in growth. Like I said, so, you know, if someone comes into an organization and the employees aren't satisfied, is that their fault? Or, you know, 6 months later, they issue that survey again, and now you see an increase in satisfaction. that's great. Or they're super satisfied and 6 months later you see a decrease in satisfaction. I wouldn't spring this on anyone. We always look at it as growth.
One last comment, Mr. McBoy.
I think part of what we're evaluating the city manager, which is our direct involvement, is how well there's a section management of employees. I think I would agree. I'm not looking for a 360 up, down at each different level. That's a more complicated process. I'm not looking for that. I would definitely be looking for more than just the director level. I would be looking for all the employees. I will say when I was at the Water Management District, which is a government agency, and I would assume subject to public records things, we did them regularly, and they were more detailed. They were not just I think we did the satisfaction sort of things, but I think it's a tool that we ought to figure out quickly. Is this possible? Can an outside company do it? Can it be done in a way that's confidential for all the employees? And that would include directors. I mean, everybody can, take part in the survey, but let's have that. If we can do it soon, if there are cities and companies and whatever, there's a process to do it. I think that is helpful to know how are we doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Peggy Fisher.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. I really was going to ask you just one question, but after all these comments, I'm going to ask you more. My question is, you also have an internal auditor that reports directly to you and only to you. Where's his or her evaluation? I've never seen one the whole time there's been an internal auditor in this country. I work for the state of Florida, the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. We had climate surveys on SurveyMonkey that were totally anonymous. If you wanted to participate, you could. If you didn't participate and didn't want to, that's fine. That's totally different than someone's evaluation. That is to give you a climate of your organization and how the people within that organization feel. That's a great thing, but it doesn't need to be part of someone's evaluation because it can be people may be ticked off for one reason and put in negative reviews just because they're ticked off. So that's not fair to whomever you're using that to be evaluated for. I don't know whether this has been suggested, but there is an international city county management association, and there is a Florida City County Managers Association. I think they would both be great things to go to about city manager evaluation. In fact, I found a presentation just by a quick Google search. So before you create everything again, maybe see what's out there. And a climate survey does not need to be tied to anybody's evaluation other than the very top person of the organization. That would be you all. So you get that evaluation at election time. Unfortunately, there are some times when your bosses, all the residents of the city, have to wait 3 years to reevaluate you. So I just wanted to bring up the internal auditor, that you have an obligation to evaluate, and you should be giving the city manager an evaluation, but not let every person in the organization have a voice.
That's true. All right. All right, city attorney, do you have a report?
No, I
Don't have a report. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who made the motion
I did, sorry.
and who seconded. I'm sorry.
Commissioner McBoy, Vice Mayor McBoy.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned.